Okay, I thought I would do a quick video on the Lowrance HDS and Elite units. They're pretty much exactly the same. So let's wait for this to start up. Now every day you go out, it's not always exactly the same sounder settings. There's no such thing as someone sending you sounder settings and you can just go punch them in and never touch the unit again. Every day is different. Might rain the next day you're fishing. It might be sunny, clear one day, the next day it might be really windy. So the faster your boat moves, you need to touch your settings. So there's no such thing as exactly the same settings every day. So you need to learn how to use the sounder if you want to learn how to find fish. I'm just going to chuck it on simulation mode so I can go through the settings without burning the transducer. Okay. Remember, water clarity plays a difference. It might have rained overnight, so it makes the water dirty the next day, which means you can't run as much sensitivity. It might be windy another day, so you're drifting a lot faster than what you would, so it means less sensitivity. So there's a lot of different things. So let's get into it now. Start with sonar. Okay, we're going to start on sonar. Range, right, always set auto, easy, simple, forget about it. Okay, the frequency I run in Lake Eildon, Chase and Yellow Belly is 83. Okay, 83 kilohertz. 200 is narrow, 83 is wide. You can run high chirp, that's for shallow water. Medium, chirp is for medium water. There's no low setting on this transducer, but there's a low setting which is for really deep water, which we're talking Yellow Belly in dams, so forget about that. 83 is the one we run. Okay, 83 kilohertz. Now, advanced settings. My noise reduction is low. Okay, every boat can be different. I run surface clarity off. Okay, surface clarity low will clear the top. See that? I have it off. You can have it on low if you want. Right, doesn't matter. Clear the screen, make it easy for yourself. That's it. Off. Okay, my scroll speed is normal. You can speed it up if you want. Make it faster, or you can make it slower. I'll leave it on normal. I'm happy with that. Pin speed. Always have mine on max. Okay, now let's go to sensitivity. You can run it manual, you can run it auto. I run mine in auto mode. Okay, now as you put sensitivity A+2, A+3 and keep going, A+6, A+7, what happens? Look at it, you're not going to see anything on that screen. As you minus it, so back to default and then start in the negatives, A-1, A-2, A-3, -4, -5, and so on until eventually there's nothing on that screen. Okay, so the way we adjust this is get in where you're fishing, get in the boat, get in the lake, right? Now, this is what I mean by clear water, or if it's rained, it makes the water dirty. This is every single day you should be doing this. So auto, so go up. So you start to get those speckles on the screen. Okay, you can see that clearly there. So that's A+4. So what you do, A+3, A+2. I'm going down. See, it's clearing up. A+1, auto, and then we get into the negatives. I usually go down till it's clear like that. See, A-4. Now what I will do is I will drop a lure, a jackal of some type, TN70, something like that, down the back near the transducer just there, drop it down. Okay, and you'll see it come up on the screen. If you can see your jackal nice and clear on the screen, that's what you're after. Now that might be A-4, A-3. The water might be that dirty that you have to go to A-6. The water might be that clear that you can go up to A+2. Okay, but in general, that's how you do it. Back it off, put your lure in the water, see if you can see your lure. That's it. Now, if you start your motor to sound, alright, this has to go down even more. The faster you move, the less sensitivity you got to put. The slower you move, the more you can put it up. That's why it's not just a matter of sending marks, yeah? Okay, so let's just say we're going to leave an A-4, which is nothing wrong with that because you're still going to pick up fish. Okay, in Lake Eildon, generally a heavy, thick line is generally more than not yellow belly, especially if there's a few. You know, it can be carp as well. Trout usually don't come up so really thick line like yellow belly do, and redfin are usually blue and red, but when you get those really thick lines, they're yellow belly. Anyway, leave it at A-4. Colour line. Colour line is got to do with this bottom here, the hardness of the bottom. So the more you go down, the more it turns blue. The more you go up, right, the more obviously it goes yellow. Now what this is telling you is the hardness of the bottom, how hard the bottom is you're fishing on, whereas rock, mud, weed beds are telling you that. Generally for Lake Eildon, I keep it between 68 and 75 is usually, I'm in that bracket, usually. When I fished yesterday, which was, some of you seen the photos on that Lake Eildon page, my colour was set to 74 that day. It changes, always changes. So that's how you do it. It's the hardness of the bottom. The more yellow you got in, usually the harder the bottom is. See that there? I would say that's more mud or sand because it's not so thick. And see here, it's thick. It's probably coming onto a more rocky bottom. That's how you read that. Okay, views, obviously you can change all that. But that's got nothing to do with how you find fish. Fish symbol, have it off. Please don't have that on. And that is basically how I have it set for the sonar setting. Alright, let's talk structure scan. Alright, I'll just start with the down imaging, okay? Now, range, auto. Always auto because it does it by itself, so you don't have to keep going to the sounder. Frequency 55, 800. Now, 800 is for shallow water, okay? Fishing for yellow belly in Eildon, you don't really want to be sounding more than 15 metres. In general, the fish that are in around the 6 metre mark are the easy ones to catch. Generally, when they get deeper, it changes throughout the spring, summer, vice versa, water temperature. So run for yellow belly in dams, I would recommend run 800 kilohertz. Why 800? 800 gives you more definition, gives you more clarity in the water. You can pick the fish up on the structure. You can see each individual stick from underneath, from the trees and that in the water column. 400 gives you a wider beam, but it's not as clear. You're not going to pick up those fish sitting in the bushes and sitting on logs down on the bottom. So run 800 in dams for yellow belly. Even for cod and that, you'll find cod off structure and that with that as well. Okay, advanced. Back, we've got surface clarity, leave it on low. You can put it off if you want low. I generally have it on low on structure scan. Flip. We'll talk about flip on the next video, so don't worry about that. Okay, contrast. Let's talk about contrast. Contrast is, let's think as contrast as a light. Okay, the brighter the light is, I'll show you. Okay, obviously the harder it is to see. See how it whites out. Okay, it's all whited out because the light is too bright. Okay, now the less light you have, I'll show you what happens. The less light, the clearer it comes. Okay, so you use contrast as that. Now if you go too far down, obviously too dark. What happens when it's too dark? It's hard to see. So same thing as a sounder, it gets very hard to see. So what we usually do with this is go to default. Okay, now this will change depending how sunny it is during the day. Okay, if it's overcast, you need more light. If it's really sunny, you need less light. It's just like a light, basically, to put it an easy way for people to understand. Now, this is not simulation mode, obviously, because I'm in the garage, but let's just say it was a sunny day. So if a sunny day, you go down, which means you're turning the light down, so you don't have to see as much, and probably like that. I would like a nice crisp bottom, is what I would look for, and leave it like that. You might have a sunny day in the morning, and then come to the afternoon, and it might get very overcast. So what do? You need more light. Okay, so you pump it up. That's how contrast works on downscan. Palette, pick your colors. When it's really sunny, bright day, I tend to use orange because it dulls the screen, easier to see. When it's just an average day, not too sunny, I tend to use blue. I like blue better, but I can't use blue on a real sunny day because it seems hard to see. At the end of the day, it's only personal preference. You're not going to see more or less either way, so it doesn't matter. It depends on your polarized glasses and all that. It might change as well, so that's just personal preference. Down, well, that's the down skew. We'll talk about that later, and that's about it. Okay, so that's structure scan. explained. Okay, back to structure scan. Let's talk about left and right view now. Okay, keep the range to normal. You can see as I press zoom in and zoom out, what happens. You start to not be able to see out too far. So what you want to do is zoom in the screen. I'll get rid of this 1 sec. Until you can see land on both sides of it. Okay, see, now you can picture this is the motor, that white line under your boat. That's the bottom of the lake there. So anything in there is coming up off the bottom. So those things there coming up off the bottom. Okay, you can see that there. Okay, rock coming up off the bottom, that's the water column. I'll zoom in to show you a bit easier. So if there's fish, they'll come up in the water column. That's obviously, could be a ball of bait or something off the bottom. Okay, so that's how you read that. On the side here, that's rocks. Now see that dark patch behind that? That looks like a log or something laying down, and that's a shadow behind it. When you know you've got the contrast right, you start to see shadows. We'll talk about it in a sec. Frequency, you got 455 or 800. 800 is more, like I said before, shallow water. It's the same principle as the down scan, okay? Advance, it's the same principle as the last one. There's no difference. Contrast is exactly what I said to you before about the light. Now this will give you a good example. What happens if you put too much light? Okay, you can't see because it's too bright. See that? The white's out, it's far too bright. Now that's A plus 29, and that's not even all the way. Okay, far too much light, it's blinding us. So what we do, we come back down to default. Right, and same thing, let's just say it's a nice sunny day in spring, and you're chasing yellows, you don't need as much light, so you can turn it down. Okay, A -3, A -4. You can come all the way to A -15 if you have to. It does not matter, as long as you're happy with the picture. A good way to see is when you start to see shadows. That's what I like. See shadows behind the rocks? I like that because when there's fish in the water column, you'll see their shadows on the bottom as well. As the screen changes in demo mode, I'll explain that to you. A perfect example. Now there's a tree. I'll zoom in on it. Okay, that's a tree coming off the bottom. There's the shadow there. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera or not. And that's what I mean. So as you come down now, okay, those shadows are clear. See that? See the rock, the shadows there? Now when there's fish sitting mid-water, we've got to zoom in more. It's not a very good demo, but when the fish are mid-water, you can see the shadows of the fish on there as well. It's another tip, and you can see all the rocks and that laying down. Okay, and same thing, you might not need so much light, so you can keep turning it down. Look, we're A -21. Okay, I don't know if you can pick it up properly. And that's how you do it. And so if you go up, I'll show you what happens. Obviously, again, washes out. So use contrast. I'll keep saying it over and over as light. You might be fishing in the morning. Okay, it might be a nice sunny day. In the afternoon, it might be really overcast. So you'll be changing this throughout the day to suit yourself. Okay, it's not so much on the down scan as much, which is that one. Okay, but left and right, the contrast plays a big part. Okay, now I'll give you a tip. When you install your transducer on the back, it can be different ways. So what you got to do is, say, go to a lake or something and drive past a tree. If you drive past the tree on the right hand side of the boat, and the tree comes on your left hand side of the boat, right? That means you got to flip your screen around, okay? Flip right to left, because the transducers can be fit two ways. Okay, so if you're driving past the tree on your right hand side and it comes on your left, flip your screen by pressing flip. Okay, I flipped mine around because my transducer is mounted backwards, so I just flipped my screen instead of flip the transducer, and Bob's your uncle. Okay, color palette doesn't matter, whatever you depending on the day, whatever you think you can read better. At the end of the day, it's personal preference. Alright, for this video, I'm just going to leave it on that one for the rest of the video. Left and right, you can go just right if you want. So that's boat, water column, and just one side if you're fishing up against a wall, or you know, you only want to see one side because the other side is too deep anyway to fish, so you can just do one side if you want, but that's just depending where you're fishing. So basically, that's about it. So that's the video explained to you. Hope it helps. If you have any more questions or you want to know anything, just write up on the page and I'll try to help you out. Thanks. see there, you see the fish there. There's quite a few fish hanging around here. They're all hanging around in 6 metres today. Metres. That's the mark today, 6 metres. Oh.